So, welcome to anyone who watches this later, since we have zero viewers. I'm here with Rudeasaurus from Archives of the Realm. Thanks for joining me, buddy. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm really excited to be here too. And when you had reached out and said that you wanted to go through some of these really cool submissions, I thought, A, awesome idea, and B, it's going to be really neat to be able to talk about some of the cards themselves, and just super happy to be able to do that with you. So thank you.
Yeah, and it's nice to shine a light on the community, like you said.
Yeah.
There's a lot of focus on what the official product is, but it's nice to see other ideas and other submissions, especially with the art as well.
I agree. And given a lot of the focus that the team has been giving to the community recently, I think this is a cool way to honor all those awesome submissions as well.
Awesome. All right. So what we've done today is we've picked about I think it's about 24 cards, 25
Mhm.
maybe. We went with the official rules. We felt it was a little bit of an easier way to whittle it down. So anything that didn't have the original hand drawn art was excluded. So yes, I know there was a couple cool mechanics out there that I'm sure the community really thought was a good idea and a great
Mhm.
card. But if it wasn't the original art as per the rules of the contest, it was not included in our list. So just a heads up if you don't see one of those cards. But without further ado, I think we're going to start with Mr. Rudesaurus's card. The
Yeah, thank you. And two, the other thing to note that these aren't ranked in any specific
oh
order. So we just kind of put everything together. These aren't in any specific order. So we're just starting out with ours just to talk a little bit about our process, and then the rest will be kind of filtered in there, but not based on preference or anything.
Thank you for mentioning that because absolutely not in order. This would be rigged to high heaven because our cards are first.
Of course, ours are best.
All right, so we got the Archives of the Realm. This is your card, so I'll
Yeah,
let you go ahead and read it
yeah.
and tell us your thought process on it.
Sure. So, it was really hard coming up with the card, and I don't know if you felt the same way too. I had so many ideas for things that I wanted to do, and was really excited. I initially started with a concept that was totally different than this, called Shattered Mind, which was an exceptional magic spell that allowed you to force an opponent to discard a random card from their library. And I was thinking more about my channel and what I really love about the game, and what I loved about other TCGs. And I think the thing that I really enjoy is just as the games evolve and they get more cards, uh, sometimes those older cards get forgotten and don't really get used that much. And then I realized that the name of my YouTube channel actually would be great fit for a monument. So when I created the channel, I kind of thought of it as like a living, evolving place where I could document the history of sorcery, and starting at the beginning and allowing it to kind of grow as the game grew. So I thought, well, let's just make it actually a monument. And I kind of envision the Archives of the Realm as actually like this citadel, like this gigantic library. So the Curio card from Alpha, the Water Castle,
Yeah,
like that's almost how I envision the outside, and then the inside I envision as almost like this, high fantasy library with gigantic ceilings. Um, so I wanted it to be a pretty powerful, unique monument. And because of that, I chose the 8 mana casting cost. I also intentionally wanted to like shy away from using any threshold requirements because I want the card to be as inclusive to as
right.
many decks as it could be. And the flavor text, or not the flavor text, the descriptor, the unique monument to sorcerers past, really paying homage to previous sorcerers that may have played the game. The ability is one that I think is quite powerful, and it's a unique ability that we hadn't seen in the game. There's only one card that's similar, and that's Eric's
Yeah, I was
Curiosa
gonna say.
from Alpha. And I wanted it to be something that was really powerful, but also had a pretty significant drawback. So the Genesis ability is to draw a spell from a previous set. So you're not allowed to use any cards from your set. That would kind of defeat the purpose of the archives, right? So from a previous set from your collection, and if Archives of the Realm leaves play prior to that card being cast, you banish that card. So, for instance, if your opponent has a dispel in their hand and they're able to dispel the archives, one thing that I wanted to add in there, but I didn't have enough room as I was writing in the text box, is it can only exist on the surface of a site as well. So that means if they bury or submerge it, it would also get destroyed.
Yeah, slow it
And that's
down.
kind of in the theme with the card too. And then finally, the flavor text is what I try to say at the beginning of all of my videos. So, hail sorcerers, welcome to the archives.
It's awesome.
And yeah, so it was a really fun thing to be able to do. And I actually, I'm not really an artist. This is only the third watercolor painting that I've done. I picked up a watercolor set years ago with the thought of, oh, I'm going to start doing art. And as most things, time passes and I forget. So this was a great way to pull that set out and dabble a little bit with that. And for those of you wondering, the sorcerer that's depicted here is supposed to be me. So
I think the beautiful beard gave it away.
see, that's what I was hoping.
So we do have a first question here. Shout out to Mike from Collector Art House. Thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so in the current state for your card to work, would you be pulling a sample card from the quote unquote previous set?
Great question. Actually, alpha would work. So even though alpha and beta are the same sets, card-wise, with the exception of Eric's Curiosa, you technically could pull any card from alpha. I think that moving forward, that would be something that I think will be a bit more relevant. But pulling a sample card wasn't actually something that I thought about. So that's actually a really neat concept. So you could pull a counter spell or one of those other wild sample cards because they're technically a set, right?
Or you
Good
should
question.
alter the question so it says a previous set from Mike's collection, so you can get all the sample cards, get all the picks, right? Oh man. Okay. Do you want to talk about some tired fields?
Yeah, I'd love to. I love that card. I'm excited for you to share your process on it.
All right. So again, we're just going through his card and my card first, and then we're going to move on to the community picks here.
Yeah.
So this is my submission. It's the exhausted fields. Originally, I was going to try and do something that's played to my channel name like Rude did here, but eventually I settled on this. I'm a huge fan of the what do you call it? Artifact decks kind of idea for Magic. And I wanted to be able to add a little bit of spice to the gameplay and the trickery and the grid and the way turns work in Sorcery. So what my card does is Genesis until the end of your next turn. Also, all sites provide no mana, or sorry, no threshold. My bad. So what this helps with is if you're playing some sort of artifact deck, obviously you don't need threshold, so all good. And more importantly, it turns off your opponent's threshold for an entire turn. So however you want to play this, even if you're not running an artifact deck, it's, let's say you're at the end of the game, they have a bolt in hand, you're on death's door, and you slap down some exhausted fields. Now they don't have their threshold to play their bolt, and you buy yourself one more turn, right? I also thought we don't see a lot of Elemental this play, and this would obviously be a staple in Elementus deck, given that the avatar itself provides that threshold, not the sites. And of course, if you have a core mix, whatever, what have you, it gets around this card 100%, sure. But I thought it'd be really cool. Like, imagine if you slap down an Atlian Fate, get rid of all their thresholds, slap down fields, and then just completely turn them off for a turn or two to maybe make a big wave of change and flip the game on its end. I thought that'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, one thing that I do love about this too, and for those of you who have watched some of the live stream games at events that I've gone to, I'm a huge fan of Mirage and Mirror Realm. I think this card would work really well with that, where you could bounce it back to your hand with Mirage, essentially giving you the opportunity to play it again for its Genesis ability. So I think that the card itself alone is incredibly powerful, and I love the whole concept of, they still have their mana, but they don't have that threshold unless they've got a core or, the Elementalist, as you said. But being able to recycle it and bounce that back and forth, that would be such a brutal play.
And as far as the art goes, I am not an artist. I do not draw. I tried to put some symbolism in this card. So you got a field that's not producing anything. That brown like streak is actually supposed to be like an empty river, so like no water. The windmill's broken, so there's no air, and that giant tangerine at the top is supposed to be a sunset. So you're running out of sun. So the symbolism was running out of all those resources. Mike Pelly, thanks for joining us, buddy. I appreciate you joining. Art House Mike also made a funny comment. So he's got a new idea with your card, Rude. It's you pull a painting and you play it. If it's a card, you play the painting and it doubles its effect.
Mike, if you can send me some of those, I would be happy to pilot test that for you and get back to you and let you know how well it works.
And Denise says she likes both of our cards, so thank you for that, Denise. I
Oh,
appreciate
thank
you
you.
tuning in as well. All right, so those are our submissions, and we're gonna move on to some of the community now. So let's check out the Roly Poly Armadillo. I'll just read it real quick. So it's 3 mana,
Yeah,
2 earth, 3 power, exceptional beast of wondrous bounciness. It has the ability of tap. It rolls in a cardinal direction and strikes the first unit on its path. If it traveled more than 2 steps, it can bounce to any site nearby. Um,
yeah.
Rude, what do you think?
I think it's a pretty neat card. One of the things that I was really excited about with this contest was to see how the community used current mechanics in a way that we haven't seen, and kind of, yeah, took something that we might have partially in the game, and then also folks that made completely new ones. I think this is really neat. The rolling we've seen with Rolling Boulder, obviously striking units as it goes, but that kind of passes through everything. I think the neat thing about this is that having the 2 steps rule in there, allowing it to kind of bounce. The question I have though is when it bounces, does it also strike and deal damage?
Mm,
I don't think so based on the way the card is worded, but that would be really cool if you could use it almost like a pinball where you intentionally roll it really far, bounce it, and then shoot it in another direction and deal more damage.
mhm. Yeah, I agree. And movement's such a tough thing sometimes with this grid layout.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy the fact that, like you said, you can kind of go forward and then bounce back. It's almost like a
Hmm.
attack and blink, come back type situation,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
extremely powerful. Okay. So good luck to Lucas Kaczynski with his armadillo. All
I
right.
love the flavored the rarity text. I don't know what's the technical. I'm sure someone in the chat knows the technical term for the line of text, including the rarity
Oh, I
and
forget.
card type.
All right. All right. So Jairus Alexander. I don't know if I spelled that right. I apologize. My spelling's terrible. So we got the Imperious Hooter. It's 2 mana, 1 air, 0 power. It's an exceptional beast of wondrous. Oh my god, I didn't change the text on that.
That's okay.
Rookie, rookie. Hold on, folks. Where is my? Okay, so my apologies. So it's supposed to be at the start of your turn. Look at both players' spells. Oh, it isn't there. Oh no, it's just the type text I screwed up. My bad.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's airborne, and at the start of your turn, look at both players' next spell. You may put one on the bottom of its deck. Obviously, this is super good for scrying into your opponent's plan. If
Hmm.
they have an Alien Fate, a Browse, or anything like crazy sitting on the top of their deck, obviously you're going to put it at the bottom of their deck so they can't have it.
Hmm.
Alternatively, if you're playing against water and they can draw from the bottom of their deck with the what is it, the mermaids
Hmm.
or something,
Yep.
it could backfire. So interesting card, but I do like the idea of being able to also see like getting a peek into your opponent's strategy.
Yeah. One cool thing too, again, thinking about synergies with current cards, if you use the self-same simulacrum to clone this card, you can essentially get multiple copies of it, even though it's unique, and then each turn cycle through multiple cards, which I think is really cool. And I believe that the owl is also supposed to be the owl that sits on the Grandmaster
Yeah,
Wizard's shoulder, which I think is a fun nod to a card that's already currently out there.
absolutely. Thank you, Jarvis, for your owl. All right. Justin Tracy has submitted the Trickster. Let's see if I got the text right on this one. So it's the Trickster is 2 mana, 1 earth, 1 power. Goblin Mischief at an elite level. When this minion attacks an unoccupied enemy site, you gain 1 extra mana at the start of your next turn.
Mhm.
So interesting art. It looks like the goblin going after the spoils here, and the little crown of the victor popping out at the top. Not bad for it looks like pen as the medium. As
Mhm.
far as the mechanic goes, though, keeping track of mana that's being gained for the next turn, I feel is going to be a little annoying to keep track of. Like you already have your thresholds, you have your mana from the site generation, your cores, or
Mhm.
whatever, and then you have this potential floating mana from the trickster on top of that. While it could be powerful and useful and interesting for the game, I feel like it'd be kind of annoying to keep track of. What
Yeah,
do you
you'd have
think?
to almost have a counter that you would keep on top of it, like a little die that you could rotate. And I think having it attack multiple times in one turn would be challenging. But if that were possible, that'd be a pretty powerful card as well. If you could set yourself up and give yourself multiple mana for the next turn, I I love mana ramp like that. It obviously would be a huge target to try to eliminate quickly.
Oh yeah, you'd be playing your Vamp to kill this your Violet
Yeah,
Imp real
yeah,
quick.
yep, yep.
All right, we got ourselves some garlic here. Uh, Matthias Frisk. I don't know. You probably have heard of him. I don't know who that guy is, but no
I think so. I
no
think so,
preferential
right?
treatment at all on this list. I swear. So it's an ordinary kitchen table relic. Genesis. All nearby minions must take one step away from the bearer, and vampires can't enter the same site as the bearer. So obviously, pretty cool effect. It's like you plop it down,
Hmm.
and everyone gets pushed away from you. I don't believe that would include pushing into the void or anything like that. So it's not like it's going to be a mass killing device, but definitely a good way to force people into like a bottomless pit or anything that can do damage or bring you closer to an attack. And the other curious thing about it too is the last line of vampires can't enter, because as you know, vampires are not part of sorcery. So who
Yeah,
knows?
yeah.
Maybe we'll see some vampires in the future,
Yes,
right?
especially since that's the persistent effect from this. So in the current state of the game, it's kind of a one turn. You get the Genesis ability and you push stuff around, but I wonder if there's some hidden knowledge that's being exposed with this one. I certainly would love to see some vampires, other than the Dapper vampire, but I don't know if that is classified as a vampire. I think I don't know what it's classified as, but I don't think it's a vampire.
Yeah, I think it's just like a beast or a demon or something like
Hmm.
that, right?
Yeah,
All right.
thanks, Mike, for clarifying the type line text. I completely forgot that one.
Thanks for tuning in, Preston. Appreciate you viewing. All right. Thank you, Matthias, for that. All right. So the next one up is from Ignacio Victor, and it's Berenice, the Dream of the Dead. I do not know why there's a J on the, so please just ignore that. 3 mana, 3 earth, 1 power. A mortal with unique disease. So in the Genesis, it has all creatures in play are disabled, and then at the start of their next turn, each player puts a creature from the graveyard into play. So this is great, like kind of like a time stop situation, right?
Hmm.
Like just disables everything, and then you get to regenerate some creatures from the graveyard. Puts into play when you're going to play your Pillars of Zeros, when you're going to banish your graveyards and stuff like that. But also for your Death Speaker players, you're going to want more regeneration from the graveyard. So
Hmm.
pretty cool, pretty cool. It doesn't really say if the disabled stays. Like it says all creatures are disabled. I don't know. I
Hmm.
don't know if that's conducive
I'm assuming
or
it's until your next turn, probably
I would
like
hope so.
a full round. Yeah. Otherwise, then uh-oh.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I can't award too many points for the art on this one either, unfortunately.
You also wonder who Berenice is. Is it someone that they know, like a personal,
Oh God,
attachment? Like, is she a really bad person? Like, does she hang out in the graveyard? What does she do?
yeah, like what is her disease, right?
Right?
All right, next one coming up is one of my favorites. Again, these are in no
Yeah.
particular
Oh, I love
order.
this one. I love
So
this
Eric,
one. Yeah.
Eric Vale's Hate Lasher, 3 mana, one
Hmm.
fire, 2 power. It's an exceptional demon cracking the whip. It has tap target adjacent ally gets charged and -1 power. So for those of you who actually play the game, this is actually really
Hmm.
cool because charge is amazing and it's one of my favorite mechanics and one of my favorite parts about when you pick cards in draft and so on and so forth. So giving the charge ability to pretty much any ally that's adjacent is
Hmm.
obviously going to be a huge strategy. But I also really enjoy the fact that Eric put in the -1 power to balance it as
Hmm.
well. So you get your
Yeah.
massive strategy, your massive charge mechanic, but then it also nerfs it just a little bit so you don't feel too overpowered, which I think is a nice balance. And of course, the art here is really creepy and awesome.
Yeah, and I think that the art really illuminates why that negative one's there. Like I can almost imagine this demon like slashing, an adjacent ally and forcing it forward because of the lash of the whip, and it almost allows you to visualize that narrative playing out in real time. So I think that the negative one, a is important because it's an exceptional card too, and not having some downside would be rough. This also eliminates your ability to use it on 1 power minions to give you the charge effect on that. But I think it's just a pretty cool card overall. The visuals make sense with the ability, and we haven't really seen anything like this in the game so far.
Yeah. It's a pretty serious armpit hair he's got going on
Yeah.
there. All right.
Sponsored by Old Spice.
Yeah, that's right. Sean Sheehan. Again, I'm sorry, sir, but I am awarding not many points for the art here. That is a very long arm on this Weatherman. So the reason I included this in the list and Rudeasaurus allowed me to keep it was because in the ability we have tap, search your spellbook for a weather event, shuffle, then place it at the top of your spellbook face up.
Yeah, that's
Now,
so cool.
obviously tutoring is great. You want to tutor, anything tutor is great, but the fact
Hmm.
that he created this new thing called a weather event as a type of card, basically,
Hmm.
um, is really fun. I think that it includes a lot because you go, anything from thunderstorm, cave-ins, Wrath of the Sea, I guess, would be a weather event.
Hmm.
Anything with all these elemental forces, which is kind of the basis of the game, um, would be tutorable. So it's pretty powerful, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's a really incredibly cool card. The taking cards that already exist and then conceptualizing how they relate to each other in a different way, I think is really new, and also pretty neat. I also like that because the effect's so powerful. It seems like this would be a kind of a hard card to cast. You've got the 4 threshold. It's got a 5 cost, and on top of that, it's only 1 power. So I think that it would be easy to remove. So it does have kind of the checks and balances going on for it, and I just love the creativity that went into the actual effect itself. I think it's super neat.
Yeah, and if we want to bounce back to the hate lasher real quick, imagine if
Hmm.
the hate lasher did not have ally as one of the keywords. So
Yeah,
let's say you had one power
removal,
things
right?
you want to remove, you
Hmm.
apply the hate lasher's ability to give it charge and -1 power, but
Yep.
in the same action you're killing it, even though you're giving it charge, which wouldn't matter, right? That'd be
Hmm.
interesting too.
Well, I'm not sure if it would kill it though because it's not doing damage. It's
Oh,
just
that's true,
reducing the
right?
power. But they could actually reword it to say deals 1 damage, which
Yeah.
may balance it a little better. But I think that that would be a neat way to use it as removal as well. It might have to be a unique card at that point, though.
Yeah. Our house Mike is saying Drew Holmes is running a tournament as a weather event. And perfect timing as always, Mr. Servati, because right next we're going into True Homes. Look at that.
It's like you're part of the plan.
Yeah, it's so Drew Holmes, for those of you who don't know, is on the play Drew. He did the March of the Mortals tournament. He's got Quicksand. A lovely little card here. It's 2 mana, 1 earth, 1 water. An exceptional aura of inevitable end. At the start of your turn, minions and artifacts occupying affected sites are moved to the subsurface and then dispel quicksand. So I believe when I was reading the idea behind this card, Drew wanted to have he wanted to introduce timed removal so that it forced players' actions and you had to uh, think about your next move, maybe alter your plan or distract you in some way that
Hmm.
you have to deal with this card right away. I think it's pretty cool. It's not mind blowing in the sense of ideas and what it does, but I like the flavor of it, and the art's pretty cool too.
Yeah, I agree, and I think what I found too in the higher level competitive play, especially at a lot of the bigger events I go to, uh, the decks that are really effective are the ones that force your opponent to play to you. So you're kind of derailing their plans and forcing them to respond. So instead of spending that mana to dispel your thunderstorm, instead they're now forced to take out your quicksand. So I think from a like a gameplay perspective it certainly would fit well in a lot of those decks, and the fact that it works both on land sites and water sites, I think is kind of unique too. So that would be the only card that allows you to bring it to the subsurface no matter what.
Yeah, I like that it specifically says to the subsurface. It doesn't say
Yeah,
bury or
yeah,
submerge or anything like that.
yeah. And as an exceptional, it gives you the opportunity to really, uh, and the threshold requirement I think mirrors that, where you got 1 earth and 1 water. But being exceptional, having 3 in the deck, it would be a pretty powerful thing that you could throw out and force your opponent to play to you essentially.
Yes, 100%. Thank you, Drew, for that one. Okay, so up
Oh
next we
yeah,
got Dante Barbetti's Alvalin Ancestor. 5 mana, 3 earth,
yeah.
5 power. A unique demon hungers for the flesh. So whenever Alvalin Ancestor kills a minion, you gain X mana, where X is equal to the power of that minion. Are we gonna talk about Screaming Skull on top of this? Are we
Yeah,
gonna
Screaming Skull, Grapple Shot, like anything. Incredible card. I think it's a cool effect too. I love the theme too, right? Like the Elven Dryads obviously giving mana as well, so this kind of fits with that theme, but it's a bit darker. And I really just think it's a neat card. I love the tie-in with the current lore of the game, referencing the Dryads, and I think the art's pretty cool too. Like this monstrous tree just hanging out in the woods. I was wondering too if maybe like immobile would be good. I think landbound works, but uh, do its roots kind of pull it out of the ground and it walks on its roots? Like, how does it get around?
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm sorry, I missed that. It is burrowing and landbound. I missed that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely needs to stay in one spot because then Screaming Skull would have been too much, running all over the place. Yeah, definitely cool art. I really love the flavor. Very
Mhm.
powerful. Okay, Michael Anthony. You're better at pronouncing this one than me. You want to read this one?
Yeah, Hammurabi's Mirror. I think it's a neat one. So it's a unique artifact of pragmatic retribution. So kind of reference to Hammurabi's code, right? At the start of your turn, you may sacrifice Hammurabi's Mirror to copy a magic spell in your opponent's graveyard. It costs 0 and requires no threshold. So I think this is a neat one in that the art kind of references all of the different colors of the elements. It's a high power but neutral threshold card, so it can really be used in any deck. Being a unique, it's obviously kind of matching up to the power that it brings to the table. But I think it's cool because Hammurabi's code's the eye for the eye, right? Like you hurt somebody, therefore you get hurt back. So taking the opponent's spell and using it against them, think A fits thematically really well with the card, and it's a really powerful ability. Can you imagine like zapping someone with a lightning bolt or fireballs after they hurt you? I think it's a neat card. I'd love to try this in a deck.
And I love the fact that it's gonna be you're gonna be showing your hand too. So like it forces
Yeah.
the opponent to think, oh crap, like if I play this spell now, he's just gonna friggin' turn it
Hmm.
around on my head.
Yeah, it's a deterrent, right? It's a
Yeah,
good deterrent, which I think is, back to Drew's card, having those deterrents and forcing your opponent to play to you is really important. So they're going to have to really think hard, like, do I want to use that, or is it going to be something that's going to come back and hurt me later?
and apparently this is Mike Pelly's card, who's with us in the chat. So Mike,
Oh, cool. Yeah, awesome
congrats,
card, Mike.
awesome card. I love
Yeah,
the art.
did I interpret your intent behind the card? So was that something that made sense? Yeah, copy Crater Eyes, Flame Wave.
Oh, I'll wait and see what he says, but I will flick
Yeah.
up the next card here. All right, so Miriam Watkins, coming in with Ego,
Yeah, this one's cool.
Homan.
Homunculi.
Thank you very much. English
Yeah, you're
language
good.
is tough. 5 mana, 3 power, a unique automaton, one in the same. Has all the abilities of your avatar. Cannot play or draw sights. So when I was reading Miriam's idea behind this, she's a big Avatar of Earth player, and I can only imagine what it'd be like if you could slap down
Hmm.
this guy with the
Oh,
Avatar of
so
Earth's
brutal.
ability. You know what I mean? Imagine your opponent's playing all kinds of Earth. You got a summoning sphere or whatever you got. You plop this guy out over
Hmm.
there. He's already 3 power. Then you get plus
Hmm.
more for the Avatar of Earth ability. And
Yeah, and then you hit it
wow,
with the lasher and give it charge.
yeah, yeah. Imagine hitting him with the hate lasher right after that, right?
Yeah, yeah. I love the art too. It's such a neat card. Like great ability, really cool effect. The art itself, I think, fantastic. Awesome, awesome job.
They're saying it looks like the next Tool album, and I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, what do we got next here? All right, so we got the Gateway to
Yeah, this one's
Nawea
cool.
from Jareb Scriven. 2 mana, 2 air. Unique aura that flows to the underworld. Affected sites have their subsurface become the void. I know we already
Yeah, it's
talked
such
about
a
this
neat
one, Rude.
card.
I know we talked about it
Yeah.
already, but I'll let you take the floor. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so it's a really cool card. When you think about the subsurface becoming the void, that allows you to play almost any void walk minion down there. And I think it's just a really novel mechanic that we haven't seen anything like in the game so far. It's pretty darn cool. And the fact that they're on the subsurface kind of makes it a little different than some other cards that we might see. But it also can be used as removal, which I think is the big thing that we discussed before as well. So not only can you play your own Void Walk minions to the Void, in that subsurface, but you can eliminate and kind of kill any minion that's submerged or burrowed on those sites. So not only is it great for you to remove, to turn into void so you can do that, but it's a great deterrent too, right? So say they're playing a lot of root spiders and you don't want them to come over onto your sites to
Yep.
disable, you drop it down and they can no longer get in there unless they dispel it. So I think it's a cool card. I love it.
And the best part too is it can turn on you as well, because like let's say you play that,
Yeah,
you think you're in control, you got your void creatures on the subsurface, and then they dispel
yeah,
it.
yeah, right. Then
Right?
you're done, right? I also want to know what Noia is. So, some of these cards that have really interesting names, and like, is it a reference to like an actual place, a literary reference? Is it something that just came from their creative minds?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really, really just like a cool card, and I want to know more about it.
100%. All right, next card is going to be dedicated to Mr. Mike Servati, because it is probably one of the best arts. I don't know if it
Yeah.
was made specifically during the timeline of this tournament, or not tournament, contest.
Mhm.
But regardless, it was done by the person who submitted the card, so it counts 100%. So we got Frankie. Good God, I'm not going to pronounce that, am I?
I'm not going to try this one either. You're on your own with that one.
Frankie's submission. We'll just go with that. So the Knights Templar, 3 mana, 3 earth, 4 power, unique mortals in search of the Holy Grail, cannot be controlled by another mortal. Gain 1+ power for any relic in the realm. I obviously we have not seen the relic buffing anyone. And yes, Dave, I lost your camera. I'm sorry. You'll be back on the next
Oh,
slide.
that's okay.
Um, yeah, we haven't seen relics buff anything yet, so I think that's a cool way to incorporate those and
Yeah.
really structure the way you're going to play your deck.
Yeah. So thinking about this too, can you imagine dropping 3 Taurus Hammer trinkets on that? Double power for each? That's +6. Incredible. That'd be so, so good.
Yeah. Yeah, so great job there with the mechanics and the art. That is a great piece.
Yeah,
Uh,
and it allows you to kind of resist the King of the Realm too, which I think is pretty cool.
yes, exactly. Cannot be controlled by
Mhm.
another mortal. And my spelling is just terrible in there. Anyways, all right. So the next card is going to be our last spellbook card. It is my honorable mention. Um, I hope you're ready for this, Dave.
Oh, I'm ready.
We got Brandon Cardinale's Mantis Shrimp. All right, so it's four mana, 1 water, 4 power. It's an elite crustacean with a shrimple goal,
Triple goal.
and so it has tap. Mantis Shrimp take us. I think that's supposed to say step in an adjacent adjacent location and performs a lethal strike on a
Yep,
target
step.
minion.
Steam kind of works though. It's running away from it. Getting boiled.
Hi, Bumble J. Thanks for joining us, man. Yeah, so this is my honorable mention, not only for all of that shenanigans, but the last line that says it's as
The flavor
shrimple as
text.
that. It's as
It
shrimple as
has
that.
the best flavor text of any submission. Grade A.
And the art, like this is like pristine shrimp,
Incredible.
pristine shrimp. Okay. Thank you so much, Brandon, for the laughs. All right, we're gonna move on to our site submissions. There's not a lot of sites compared to the spells, but we do have a couple that we picked out. So we're gonna start with Dan Ho, and he's got the
Hmm.
Vortex Plains, an elite site of everlasting whirlwinds. Whenever an airborne minion enters this site, kill it. Genesis, all nearby minions are drawn to this site. Obviously, this is a anti or opposite bottomless
Hmm.
pit strategy going on here. Um, if we talk about all the other cards that are pushing stuff in the other directions, like your garlic, all of your water cards, riptides, and all that
Hmm.
good stuff, easy
Hmm.
to push into here and get rid of some airborne, because there's a lot of solid airborne strategy out there.
Hmm.
Um,
And I
yeah,
think the nearby makes sense with the fact that this is targeting airborne minions as well. So I think that the card itself is cool. Bottomless Pit is really powerful. It's nice to have kind of a counter to that. I can imagine using this plus Bottomless Pit, and then you're just like an impermeable wall.
yeah.
Um, but it's neat. I like it. And I like the whirlwinds. I'm kind of envisioning like these gigantic tornadoes that are moving around on the plain. So good work, Dan.
Good job, Dan. All right. Moving on to Michael Oliver and his Dragon's
Yeah.
Nest. So we got a unique site of Fire and Birth, provides 1 fire threshold. Three fire on Genesis. Summon three egg tokens here at the beginning of your turn. If a minion you control is atop Dragon's Nest, transform an egg token into a dragon hatchling token. So it's like incubate if you are
Hmm.
familiar with that mechanic. Pretty cool. Pretty fair. I like the flavor. I like the little tokens. They're
Hmm.
kind of cute. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I think it's neat. I think again, it's an ability that we haven't seen used in the game so far, and it makes sense thematically. I think it's cool to have a minion that's got to park itself on top. I think that the egg tokens and the dragon tokens would go well if you had one printed on one side and you just flip it over. So the
Yeah.
way they kind of double-sided printed the tokens, and they're not too powerful. I may think because they are airborne, like it might be nice to have them as one power, especially since you're getting three of them. But with it being a unique site, that makes sense. But thinking about how there's only one other site in the game right now that is similar, which would be Tadpole Pool.
Mhm.
You get the three frog tokens with Submerge, and they're zero power. So I think the adding you need to have a minion there, and it's a timed thing. It
Yeah,
makes a
another
little more
step.
sense why
Yeah.
it's two. But I think it being a one might be a little more balanced in terms of the playability of it. But it's a neat card. I love the art, and I love the idea of having a multi-use token that you kind of flip over. And the fact that the egg tokens are zero and immobile makes them really easy to kill as well.
Yeah, I 100% agree. That's a you nailed it on that one.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. We have
Yeah, I love it. I
this
love it.
the official submission is under Ireland Hamner, but for anyone who has Discord, we know this is Kevmo's card. So I'm not sure
Hmm.
if this is just some like boomer Facebook name that he uses or someone's real name, and I don't know. I really apologize if you really are out there, Ireland Hamner. But we got the Coliseum ruins, or as I put, the Runis, apparently, because I was very tired when I made this. An elite arena of reckless wreckage. Whenever a unit enters this site, if another unit shares a location with it, they fight. So upgraded, free city, a lot of damage, a lot of forced interaction, a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah, I think it's neat. I think that having another card that allows you to take advantage of your minions. So, say you have a minion that you're really hoping can attack a site the next turn, but they've got a foot soldier token on it. If you can find a way to get it onto the Colosseum ruins, you can then force them to fight, and then that site is open for you to attack, and you don't have to worry about it getting chump blocked. So I think it's a neat way to force interaction on the sites themselves, and I love the art. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, the Coliseum falling apart, and
Yeah, yeah, it's
yeah,
neat.
well done, Kevmo. I'll give the credit to Kevmo for now. All right, up next, I think it'd be hard pressed to say that this card doesn't get picked for the winner's
Yeah,
circle. We got
yeah,
the
I agree.
Pools of Reflection
Oh,
by Mr.
incredible.
Kevin Chen. I mean, where do you begin with this? The guy nailed the art. He nailed
Hmm.
the type text. He nailed the effect and what it does, and it's just beautiful. So I'm just gonna read it real.
Yeah.
I'll read it real quick. It's the Pools of Reflection, an elite site of mirrored mystique. When an effect will pass through your here in a straight line, you may redirect it. So obviously, all you Pudge
Mhm.
fans out there, all you projectile fans out there, all any like redirecting, like who? I never would have thought of that for some
Yeah,
reason.
it's such a
Like
cool mechanic, right?
yeah,
I love it, and it fits well with the theme. I think the art of the card, it makes sense. You've got this reflecting pool. Um, I love the art itself. Just everything about the card, I think, is phenomenal. I am surprised it's elite. Actually, I thought the effect is so powerful. I thought it might be a unique card,
hmm
but it is. That's a card that I would use in my current deck if I had the ability to. I would definitely throw two of them in there.
oh for sure.
I think that it's phenomenal, and the art itself is gorgeous too, just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and I'm wondering to myself, like, if you have two of these in play on two
Yeah,
different spots, could you like more or less zigzag a projectile through the realm now, or
yeah, right. Like you kind
the
of send it back towards itself, right?
yeah, it'd be really cool. And then you throw in a Magellan's Globe, and you're just having a party at this point. Like,
Yeah. Actually, even thinking about that, like, would you be able to redirect it back in the same direction it came? So for firebolts, Ice Lance, any of those projectile-based abilities, grapple shot, like can you bounce it straight back at them? Like you
I
can't shoot me with.
it sounds like it. You says you may
Yeah,
redirect it so you can send it right back, and it's a great deterrent from those game-ending grapple shots that just come across the realm and
yeah,
ruin your day, right?
yeah. So what happens if a Pudge Butcher pudges himself? Does he like fly around and then land back at his site?
It's a good question. That'd be a funny visual, that's for sure.
Right?
Um, Locust isn't. Thank you for tuning in, buddy. We're not reviewing all the cards that were submitted because I think there was over 200.
Yeah, there's
So
a
we
lot.
just
Yeah.
we selected about 24 of them, and we're getting close to the end here. But thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. All right. Again, Kevin Chen. If you don't get picked, you're in our hearts for sure.
Yeah, you win in my heart. Like I love that card. I may even try like some proxies and decks just to
Yeah,
see how
right.
it
That's so
runs,
good.
right? Yeah.
All right, so Baba Yaga's Hut. I know you might think to yourself, I saw a submission just like this for the spell book.
Hmm.
You're kind of right. It was a different person, but the same person did the art, and I guess they're like friends or something. So it is hand drawn art, and it is two different people's ideas. So we figured we could include it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's a unique site spinning and relocating. At the start of your turn, you may choose an empty site to change places with this site. Powerful.
Yeah, it's such a unique thing, and as we were talking too, it specifies that the other site has to be empty, but it's a hut, right? Like, is there a minion like inside it, and does it move with it if you have your own minions on top of it?
Hmm.
If so, I mean, that would be such an incredibly powerful card, being able to just kind of bounce around and bring your whole army with it.
Yeah, 100%. And it almost reminds me of the Troy card where you can just kind of like
Hmm.
slide on in and infiltrate, which
Yeah,
that was another cool submission as well, but we didn't include it because it didn't have the original art. Sorry about that.
yeah. No, I
Um,
think that one had really cool mechanic as well. But I'd be interested to see how this plays because it fundamentally changes site placement. Not only can you use it to kind of serve as a Trojan horse for your own minions, but you could theoretically move one of their sites in a place that's very easy for you to attack. So, say you're playing Avatar of Earth and you want to position one of their sites amidst your clump of Earth threshold cards to boost the power. I think it's such a really powerful card with a lot of potential.
mm, all right. Let's see here. Next one coming in. We got ourselves
Oh, I love this one.
Sin Huan Chan's trade routes. An elite set of connections, units above ground move freely, or units above ground moves freely to enter or leave the site from or to adjacent sites. Obviously,
Hmm.
movement's huge in this game with the grid. Big part of the strategy, and the being able to move at any point in time without exhausting your tap ability
Hmm.
is going to be extremely beneficial. And this is just it looks like a lot of fun to get some movement on the board
Yeah.
and get some extra attack in.
Yeah, when I see this, I think of like what would this be like if you pair it with something like a an Imperial Road, right? Like you drop Imperial Road, then you drop this in front of it, and maybe you have another Imperial Road after that. Like you can really move the whole span. And I love the theme of the card too. I just think it's a really interesting mechanic, and visually, I can imagine a narrative playing out where the caravans are passing through, or different minions are kind of filing through to the next site, and being able to move so efficiently because it's an engineered road.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Mike Pelly was commenting on the Baba Yaga hut, and it's basically saying it's like a cloud city, but
Mm,
instead of floating through the void, you're selecting a abandoned or empty site in exchange
hmm.
to
Yeah,
teleport
that makes
to.
sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
All right. Next one, again, very strong contender for favorite
Yeah.
arts. It's not too complex, but I think it's gonna catch your
I
eye.
love it. I
Yeah.
absolutely love it. Yeah. When I saw that on there, I'm like, God, that is so gorgeous. And then I was happy that I didn't submit a site card because I'm like, there's no way I would win.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, really cool. I love it.
Yeah, shout out to Shannon Nelson. I believe he's also our misprint guru from the Discords.
Hmm.
So we got ourselves the Pillars of Binseki, a unique site of dystopian dreams. When a minion dies at a nearby location, deal 1 damage to each player. Um,
Yeah.
so what are we thinking here, Dave? Are we pushing a whole bunch of minions in here and killing them? Are we is this Bordemush a hate? Throw a bunch of foot soldiers,
Hmm.
push a bunch of foot soldiers in there and nuke them. Like
Yeah.
what would be your strategy with this guy?
I think that I would probably drop an angel's egg on it and burrow it, and then abuse the whole range of destroying all the smaller minions. I certainly do think that it would play well as an aggressive card, but it's also a great defensive card too, right? Like if they have, or if you have a lot of really tiny minions, and you're throwing them at them, they've got to really think like, am I gonna block that one power foot soldier with my larger creature because I'm still going to take the damage. So how do I want to do that?
Yeah.
I think it also makes losing those minions and kind of using your border militia like wave of foot soldiers as chump blockers is pretty cool. Um, I think it's a really neat card. I'd love to see how it plays, and I love the art. This and
Reflecting pools.
incredible. Well
Yeah.
done. Yeah,
This one in reflecting pools, 100%.
yeah,
All right, folks, we are moving on to our last one. It is my honorable mention, mostly for the art, but also still pretty cool card, and it is the Circle of Hell from Alessandro
yeah.
Paglia. Unique site of noisome earth and fire, or earth and water, sorry. It just says mortal on the site dies, so I'm assuming they meant to put Genesis for that. Whenever
If
mortal,
not, it's the best site in the game.
yeah, whenever a mortal dies, give a +1 counter to a demon. But the
Yeah, it's a cool one. I think thematically it makes sense. It's really neat.
yep,
I love the art. It's super cool.
yeah, yeah. But I mostly picked it for the art. Not gonna lie, I don't know about counters and stuff like that in this game. But +1 power, I guess, would be
Hmm.
the equivalent.
Yeah, and looking at the art itself, it's almost like there's this channel that's been placed, at the gates of the city, and you're forcing the mortals to walk through it, and they're dying and like turning into these demons and zombies around, with the flying above. So I just think it's a really neat card.
Yeah, and I love that interpretation. You got a keen eye for picking apart this art. I love it. All right. Thanks again for everyone who tuned
Yeah,
in. I really appreciate the views. We had a little bit of fun, a lot of fun putting this together, Dave and I. I'm really excited to see who
yeah,
comes out on top for this contest, but more importantly, we got to really see the community show what they got in their heads, what they can provide, and some really cool ideas that we've seen. It's been really
mhm,
good. If anyone in the chat has any
yeah,
questions before we sign off,
yeah,
Dave,
and it
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say it'd be wonderful to hear what everyone else's thoughts are if they had a favorite card or one that they really love. But I think for me too, we really technically we have two sets that are out right now, Alpha and Beta, but they're pretty much the same, right? With
Hmm.
some minor changes and only one card removed. But I got so excited when I saw the video where Erik had brought some of his concept cards and played them, and even more excited when I saw folks in the community start to really think about how they would want to see effects play out in the game. So it just really made me excited about future sets too, and what we're going to see in terms of mechanics, how the themes or different abilities are going to be able to be used. I think it's fantastic. I can't wait. So yeah, what are your favorite cards? What were some things that you really enjoyed looking over? Obviously, we didn't have the ability to go through all of them, but was there one that we missed that you think would be really cool?
Um, Me, myself, or the chat?
Oh, everyone.
Everyone. Um, Mike Pelly saying that the mortal on the site dies is a permanent effect. He thinks just for
Hmm.
the Circle of Hell, which could be true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but future sets, I can't wait. Arthurian Legends, man, like so much hype. It's killing
Yeah.
me. It's killing me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, when I was talking to Jeff Menges recently, he was very excited about finally having the chance to show the community what was in there. I can't wait. With how excited he was, I'm like I I wonder if all artists get that excited when a new set is coming out, but I tend to think probably not. So I really can't wait to see what we're gonna find out.
yeah. All right. Before we log off, I just want to talk real quick about upcoming tournaments. For those of you who can
Hmm.
make it to the Spring Social, Dave and I will both be there.
Hmm.
Should be a blast. Um, Mike Pelly's commenting that the Dense Forest from Jens was a
Hmm.
contender for him as well. I did like that one. Um, a fun story for for Dave. You didn't know this, but I'm sorry, I should have told you
Yeah.
sooner. But I originally reached out to Jens and Sophie if they would join me, and so I purposely did not pick their cards because I was going to put them at the start of the video, and then we pivoted and brought you in, and, and now they didn't make the cut. So, oh,
Yeah, second choice.
sorry about that. No.
That's okay.
Yeah, but yeah, the dense forest is cool. It was very similar to the what was it, the Geistwood sample card,
Hmm.
the old growth forest, which was, I believe,
Hmm.
essentially the same mechanic where airborne could not attack the site. Um,
Hmm.
so it was cool, but I think it was very similar to the old growth forest, which I don't think Jens knew. Don't get me wrong. So I thought that
Hmm.
was interesting that they both had the same idea, and it was something that had been
Hmm.
drafted up before as well. But yeah, Spring Social is going to be amazing. If you guys can make it out, that'd be fantastic. Sorcery Con
Hmm.
at the end of the year looks insane. If you're over in Europe, Spiel Essen, you got Ask and Rast this weekend with the Cardboard Guide folks and Nerd and Proud of It.
Hmm.
What else? Did I miss any? There might be some other
Think
smaller events.
there was a French tournament as well that I had seen recently advertised as well in Paris, but I'm not sure. I think that's the end of June, and I forget the name of it, but I believe there is going to be two artists there as well. So that I think will be pretty exciting for those folks over in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I can't wait for the spring social. Really going to see. Oh, did we say Gen Con? Did you say Gen Con?
Oh God, yeah, Gen Con. We forgot
Yeah,
Gen Con.
Gen Con. Yeah, Gen Con.
Gen Con's happening.
Uh, I,
Check it out.
I kind of, yeah, I kind of see this as the summer of sorcery. That's kind of what I'm, thinking in my mind. There's so many events that are popping up, and I really can't wait. I think there's going to be some incredible community building. The excitement for Arthurian Legends, I think, is going to continue to grow, and I just can't wait to see how the community responds to that information as it comes out too. So I hope to see you guys at some of those events, and Josh, I can't wait to see you down in Baltimore and Gen Con as well.
Yep.
It is going to be so much fun to be able to connect again and play some games.
Yep. And yeah, I think that about does it. Thanks for everyone who tuned in. We had a lot of fun here tonight, and hopefully we'll see the official winners soon and get to contrast our picks versus theirs.
Awesome.
All right. Take care, Dave. Thank you, everyone. Have a good
Absolutely. Have
night.
a good one, everyone.
Hail sorcerers. That's
See you in the contested realms.
right.